So Dr. Thatte, can you just wave your hand?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you. Meghna is our second speaker. Can you wave your hand? Thank you so much, Meghna. Vishwanath, can you wave your hand? Thank you, Vishwanath. And my co-host has joined. Vivek, can you wave your hand? Thank you so much. Yes. So let's start for today's session. So Vivek, you want to introduce? Vivek? Okay, I think he's frozen. Okay, let me start with our first speaker, Vishwanath. Okay, so Vishwanath, most of us know him as Vishu. Maybe शायद विश्वनाथ अय्यर ऐसा बोला तो थोड़ा कम लोग पहचानते हैं. विशु बोलेगा तो दुनिया पहचान जाएगी. So this is what our Vishu is, with the different look and the new look. So it's really suiting you, Vishwanath. So okay, he is a neurosurgeon and he's working in various corporate hospitals in Mumbai and mainly in Thane, and since last 15 years. He is an avid cyclist and bicycle mayor for Mumbai. He works with the NGO Cycle Chala City Bacha with fellow cyclists, which are actually the urban planners, architects, transport experts, and with the vision to promote cycling, increase ridership, and focus on creating cycling infrastructure within each of the 24 civic wards in Mumbai. So he will speak what is his goal about cycling, why is he cycle so much, and what is he really contributing to the society by cycling. So let me ask him, So Vishwanath, what is your passion? Neurosurgery or cycling? Because when you met me, I think 10 years back, the line you said, neurosurgery is my passion. And nowadays you talk more about cycling. What is it?
Now, as a man becomes older, it expands to get more and more loves into it. So he can fit into multiple compartments. So it doesn't mean that one compartment has to make place for the other. So there is a compartment for neurosurgery always. There is always a compartment for family. And now my newfound love is cycling. So I honestly started cycling with a very selfish motive of just fitness. So I started in 2011 just because I wanted to be, more fit and agile. And I couldn't go to gyms because I find it very boring. But it was just like you go on a blind date. I went on a blind date with someone and I ended up falling in love. And I'm deeply married to cycling. So that is the way it happened. It was not really planned that way. So it started from 2011, where slowly the kilometers kept on piling. I used to do 10, 15 kilometers with a lot of difficulty. And now almost every morning I do 40, 50 with ease. And on Sunday I do 80, 90. So every year I cover almost 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers on my cycle. Much, much more than I drive myself. I just don't like driving at all. So it is. Yeah, sorry. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Vishwanath.
We can hear you, Vishwanath. Yes.
Yeah. So, it became like every new thing you do becomes like an important milestone. So the first 50, the first 100, the first time you climb Lonavala, all these important things become new milestones. The childhood milestones replaced by new milestones in life. And the best part of cycling, what I felt was I could just ride with somebody who is as old as my son. And at the same time, I could ride with somebody who is as old as my father. So every morning I ride with people who are much, much younger to me. And there are people who are much, much elder to me. And the single, common love we share is cycling. So fast, after so many years of cycling, just for myself and for fitness, since the last 4 years, I'm also involved in the NGO called Cycle Chala City Bacha. So, if you see, everybody in Bombay suffers the problems of traffic and pollution.
I think he again logged out. Rupa? Okay.
Yeah, I'm back here.
Yes.
Because someone getting logged out, even though I'm in full range.
Yeah, you can go off video.
So now I'm in organization.
You can go off video. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
now I'm in. Yeah. I'm in an organization now called Cycle City Bacha. So we mainly try to improve commute cycling, So this morning cycling for fitness is a different issue. But I think everybody should commute for simple things like going to a shop or going to the station, to school on cycle. So if everybody takes out their motorbike and car for everything, I think pollution and traffic, we just cannot keep on complaining about it. So just now we started a new activity where every building we just repair one simple cycle and keep it next to the watchman. And everybody who wants to go for a local shop, buying tomato or kanda, bread or eggs or milk, you can use that common cycle. So these are simple things which can be done to improve cycling for community.
Can't hear.
Yeah.
I just don't know why this is happening because I'm in
This-
complete 5G network. Yeah. Yeah.
Now it will not happen.
So
Go
that
ahead.
is, yeah. So that is the thing. So I am now trying to focus on that. And right now I've been appointed the bicycle mayor. So the main motive is to improve commute cycling. So I just hope that, many of my doctor colleagues join because we are the people who are involved in fitness and pollution and sustainability. So health is a very important thing for all of us, I guess.
Got you. And thank you so much for sharing so much about the cycling. And we really got it, where you're heading the community towards. So thank you for giving values to the community, Vishu. And, we now want to know, like, when this your passion met the horror.
See,
Okay, that is all we want to, we are really waiting for that. What happened? We know
No,
that you were on two wheels rather than that you were on another two wheels for some time.
Yeah. So that's a very important part of my story. And many people try to erase bad memories, but I don't want to erase any bad memory because I consider it as one of the, things which I now remember with a lot of love and pride, and mainly because of the love and help I got from so many people. So 2015, I was participating in a 200-kilometer cycling event. And I promised my wife, Rupa, she also must be here on this meeting. Every 50 kilometers, I will call her. So at 50, I called her, at 100, I called her, and I was almost going to call her at 150. And at 149, I was hit by a tanker, hit and run, somewhere next to Malur. Just few minutes before I had my accident, I saw a few ambulances on the highway. And I felt, wow. As a doctor, I'm so happy. There are ambulances going even in the periphery at Malur and all that. And the next few minutes, I was in the same ambulance. So that lady told me, "Arey, appa accident ho gaya hai, and now you need a tetanus injection." So that ambulance was good enough only to give a TT injection. They took me to the nearest hospital. And everything I learned in Sion Hospital came to my mind because that hospital was not at all capable to manage a trauma like mine.
We lost you, sir.
Yeah, he again logged out. Yeah.
Swati?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Vishu.
Is the problem on your side or my side?
Looks like your side.
Yes.
Network looks fluctuating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that hospital, I had to start my own treatment. Sion Hospital का trauma care मुझे खुद का खुद करना पड़ा. So ultimately, when I discovered that I had some 8 broken bones in my pelvis, C3 cervical spine and a lumbar spine fracture, and some 30 to 40 sutures. So that's when I realized the pain of cycling also. For almost 6 weeks, because of the fracture pelvis, I was on bed. And the options were multiple: surgery, this, that. Because we are doctors, we get multiple opinions. And I think the most important decision I made was to just take one good opinion, Dr. CJ Thakkar from Bandra, again from Sion. And what he told me, I just followed. And I think just following one good advice as a patient helped me.
Got you, Vishu. Okay, we lost him again.
Hi. Swati,
Yes.
Sunil.
By the end of second month, I was back to cycling and my neurosurgery. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that accident, I have done probably 25,000 kilometers.
Oh my God. So that question we will come in the next session and we'll ask Rupa, how did you allow him to do that? Definitely. Okay. And thank you so much for sharing your inspiration. Okay. You have come out from the big trauma, whatever you had gone through. And how long you were on the bed, Vishnu?
5 weeks on bed, 2 weeks on wheelchair, maybe 2 weeks on walker, and 1 week on single hand crutch, and then full walking.
Got you.
So probably
Got
2 to
it.
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing this. We'll just we'll come back to you, Vishu, asking about few
Okay.
more questions. Thank
Sure.
you so much for sharing.
Thank
Let's come to our next speaker, Meghna Verma. So, Vivek, do you want to introduce Meghna? No, I think Vivek. Okay.
I think
So, yeah, hi, Meghna. Hi.
Hi.
So, she's Meghna Verma. So, Meghna, before introduction, I really want to, ask Meghna. Meghna, आपके पास कितनी डिग्री है MBBS के बाद? This is what, every time we meet Meghna, Meghna will add one more degree to her. Yes, please go on.
बहुत लंबी पूछ है नाम के पीछे.
बोलिए, we really want to know that.
So yeah, I did my MBA from KEM, MS ophthalmology, then fellowship in cornea. I've done MBA from ISB in Hyderabad, and after all this, a corporate career, worked with Hyderabad in Hyderabad, decided to that. So did
Your
a
voice is
diploma.
intermittently, we are losing your voice intermittently. Can you just come little near the camera or something?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is better.
This is better?
Yeah.
Okay. So, then I shifted to psychiatry. I have done a PG diploma from CMC Bangalore, and currently I'm practicing as a psychiatrist and psychotherapist. All these years I was in Hyderabad. Just this June we shifted back to Mumbai after 14 years in Hyderabad. So yeah, a lot of degrees, a lot of experiences I have gathered. And like Swati said, every time there is a new addition to the tail behind my name, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is how we know you, Meghna. And it is so powerful. And Meghna is a horrendous reader. She will always, talk about some new book she has read. She will speak about the books. She has made our dear friend Sham, also her husband, also read so many books. We don't know that we were not that kinds who were the book readers, but he has become in her company, and that's really amazing. And Meghna, just tell us something about your Mind Sutra, how it came to you and what happened. And Mind Sutra is the book written by Meghna. Yes, Meghna.
Yeah. So, I wrote Mind Sutra in 2021 after almost spending like 1.5 years. Is there an echo? Is my voice clear, Swati? Am I clear?
Yeah, there was echo, but now it is good. You go ahead.
Now it's good, right? Yeah. So spending like 1.5 years on kind of researching and writing this book, Mind Sutra. It's called Mind Sutra Transforming Woe to Wow. And like the name says, it is about a little bit about my own journey. So after I had done my fellowship in cornea from LV Prasad, was the time that I discovered that I have retinitis pigmentosa myself. So being an ophthalmologist and suffering from an ophthalmic problem, and and everybody would say, LV Prasad is like considered one of the premier institutes in ophthalmology in this country. And when like you are in the field yourself, and some of the best doctors of the country are telling you ki humko nahi malum ki matlab what this disease is about, why it has happened, um, will it progress, will it not progress, uh, there is no surety, nothing, no prognosis, no proper diagnosis also, whether it is RP or it is something else, any other kind of degeneration, wo bhi nahi pata. So it was such a confusing period for me. I didn't know, and I didn't know whom to turn to for support. And finally, I think during this journey, I realized that ultimately we have to, there is something within all of us that we can always fall back upon for that support, that peace that we keep on searching for during these during these anxious times, right? So, and that, what is this, that of course, I mean, like the title for this program also says, right? Tragedy is a part of human life. Suffering is a part. Everybody has some point where they suffer. It could be health, it could be finance for somebody, it could be relationships for others. But all of us go through this journey where all of us have some pain in our life, but some of us do not really suffer that pain. I mean, suffering is different and pain is different, right? So I really wanted to cover this distance between pain and suffering. And that was my journey through Mind Sutra, where I spoke to people like us, doctors. There are anecdotes from our Indian, from our Indian psychology. Uh, and and friends who, like a friend who lost her 13-year-old son. um, and I mean, there are beautiful stories in Mind Sutra about people who have undergone great losses, tragedies in their life, yet they have not suffered through it. And one of the principles which I have discovered, which our Indian knowledge systems, I would say, is very, very strong with, is Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Plus, I was studying, I was making that shift into psychiatry and psychology myself, into therapy, and becoming a therapist myself. So I combined some of these Western principles from psychology with some of the principles from Yoga Sutras. And that is how it became Mind Sutras. So these are basically maxims which have been studied, or they have been a part of our Indian culture for last 3,000 years. And plus they have been scientifically proven also: cognitive behavior therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, different therapies which have of course undergone trials and have been clinically accepted. So kind of find those traits which help people undergo whatever you call it, suffering, pain, tragedy, and really create meaning out of it. Grow through grow through your trauma, grow through your tragedy. So Mind Sutra is about that.
Superb. You have opened up some different analogy and a different book and a chapter for the life. Thank you so much, Meghna, for sharing such insights. And I can really see that there is a loss of your sight, but
Yes.
I cannot see any vision loss. It's so huge.
Oh, thank you, Swati. That's such a huge compliment. Thank you.
Thank you, Meghna, for being here. And thank you for sharing with us. Let's go to our third speaker today, Dr. Ravin Thatte. We all know him. Many of us are your students, sir. And there's a huge fan following here because, you are the one who has started the science plastic surgery department. So that department existed there. So this is little bit about Dr. Ravin Thatte. He is perhaps the senior most active plastic surgeon in our country. Sir is still attached there at Global, I guess, and Godrej Hospital. His many contributions to the plastic surgery, particularly because they were suitable for developing countries, were extensively published abroad and fetched him FRCS ad hominem award of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, and he was the first Asian to get this honor. He was also the first plastic surgeon to earn the Fulbright scholarship for his work on the Venus flap. Dr. Thakte also is successful first environmental battle in the history of city of Mumbai and developed a large park in the suburb of Mahim. He is also well known as a student of Indian philosophy, and one of his books has won a state award for literature. His English translation of Jnaneshwari. His English translation of Jnaneshwari, a commentary on Gita of more than 1,000 pages, is now in his 5th reprint. This is what about all Dr. Ravin Thakte. So, sir, we want to ask you the journey of, so you have written Jnaneshwari from Marathi to English, and which is useful for the day-to-day life. I'll just let me unmute you. Sir, can you unmute yourself? I'm not able to unmute you. Can you accept the prompt? Yeah.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Swati, congratulations on this great effort. And more congratulations because you have pronounced my name correctly. Everybody calls me Thatte. Yes, my name is Thatte.
So मैं मराठी है ना, तो व्यवस्थित pronounce करते हैं.
I'm reminded, Vishwanath Iyer's story is very interesting. I'll tell you why, because in 1957, as second MBBS students, 5 of us went by cycle to Pune, and one of them was Vishwanath Iyer, who later became a very prominent orthopedic surgeon in Solapur. So, those cycling days, and, we had these old cycles, and in the middle of the night, some truck had deposited a large number of gunny bags on the old Mumbai-Pune road, and some of us fell across and we didn't get an ambulance, but one of us carried another person on a cycle to a Talegaon hospital. So that rhymes with me. What to say about Dr. Verma? I mean, I remember the story of Helen Keller. Helen Keller was both blind and deaf. She was asked, what would you prefer? Would you rather be deaf or blind? And she said, I would rather prefer to be blind than deaf. And I think Dr. Verma is a story which requires to be replicated everywhere. And I think, Swati, I would strongly advise you that if this is your program, and if you get 25 or 30 of these people who have done this extraordinary thing of coping, I think we should write a book on the subject. I'm also gratified that you have 78 people on the screen. So I think your project is very successful. And I'm glad that so many people who are busy in their practices, unlike me, now I am almost retired, not completely, but that they should come here at 9 o'clock in the night. And thank you, all of you, and Swati, particularly you, for thinking about me.
Got you, sir.
This question is about coping, I think.
Yes. The question is like, how, so you share with us how when the life-shaking events happen in the life, how to cope up, how to go ahead and cope up with that. Yeah.
About 40 or 42 years ago, I got into a very interesting situation. Now I call it interesting, but at that time it was devastating because the family suffered a very bad, brutal death, a murder mystery which has still not been solved, a very near relative of mine. Actually, Swati knows the story later of another member of my family, and that is why probably she invited me. But by that time, I was immunized because this was the first instance. The second instance of was in my practice. A lady came to me asking for breast surgery. And I obviously knew that she was infatuated by cosmetic surgery, and I knew that this was not really required. So I tried to brush her off 2 times, 3 times, and ultimately I told her, "You are coming here alone. Why don't you bring your husband with you?" And promptly enough, the next week she brought her husband, and the husband said, "See, doctor, she is bent upon this work to be done on her breast, and why don't you do it?" So therefore I did it. It so happened that on the second post-operative day, the hospital where I operated on her went on a strike, and the patients had to be shifted. So, I had several plastic surgeons who were friends, and we shifted the patient. But here is the problem. The problem was that she had hid the fact from her husband. And the person she had brought was not her husband at all. So therefore, the secret was out that, she had undergone surgery without her husband's consent. And because the patient had been shifted to another hospital, that hospital wouldn't give her concession. So, in those days, the bill came to about 35,000 rupees. And the husband told the wife that, "Forget about what happened. Now you bring the money to me. I had to spend 35,000 rupees. And the case went to consumer court and then Maharashtra Medical Council. And I'm not against feminism because my daughter herself is a feminist, but some feminist reporter on the third page of the Times gave a headline. And then how the media is, one after the other, they started getting headlines. And came a day when I was going to operate on a patient, and when I went to meet him in the anteroom, this chap was reading the Times in which my headline was there. It was a brutalizing experience for me because I had led a very sheltered life. I was not particularly keen on aesthetic surgery. I had committed a lack of judgment because I knew that this woman was unstable. That was part two. So therefore, there was this death, which was unnatural. Then there was this terrible infamy in the public. And the third was even more extraordinary. The extraordinary part was I didn't know how to cope with my success. I will tell you why. Because in those days, the Sion Hospital Plastic Surgery Department was not really recognized. We were upstarts, we were new, we were, I don't know, we were looked down upon by the other 3 established institutions. I had remained fellow for 5 years, though I had been trained abroad, so-called trained abroad, because what I had seen there was not useful here. And suddenly, one fine morning, I thought of an operation. And I performed it, and it became successful. So therefore, an orthopedic surgeon came to me and said that the Silver Jubilee Orthopedic Conference is going to be held in Taj Mahal Hotel. So why don't you present the paper? I didn't know how to present a paper. I didn't know what a journal was. I didn't know how to publish a paper. However, I went there. And it so happened that the night before, this paper was a boat cruise. And, the orthopedic surgeons being what they are, they had come back to the hotels at 3 o'clock in the morning. After a good, merry trip on the ship. So nobody woke up in the morning for my first paper. I was unknown. There were only 4 people in the hall. At the end of my presentation, a foreigner came to me and said that, "Can I come and visit you at the hospital?" And he came over and then he said, "Show me other cases that you presented." And then I showed him those cases. And lo and behold, he happened to be the editor of the Watson Jones's textbook of orthopedic surgery. He went back to England and he wrote to me saying that, "Would you allow me to include this operation in a textbook?" You can imagine, I don't know, maybe I was what, 30, 31, totally unrecognized, never published a paper. And suddenly my work gets published in a textbook. So therefore, there was this problem of how to cope with sorrow, shock, and success, all S. The problem with success was that I was wondering whether I would be able to keep up with what I have done, or was I just one sparrow swimmer? One book wonder, that kind of a thing. Of course, things turned out nicely later on, like you said. Ultimately, I ended up by publishing more papers than an Englishman in the British Journal. That's another matter altogether. So at this point in time, when I was struck with terrible sorrow of an unnatural death, when I was suffering from infamy and didn't know how to cope with my success, I took up to reading philosophy in the form of Dhaneshwari. That then is the basis, as you might say. And I wouldn't understand it. You know, there is such a thing as utilitarian philosophy. There is pure philosophy and there is utilitarian philosophy. I don't know whether you know, but the Americans base their culture on utilitarian philosophy. What is useful and what is good for my redemption. Forget about soul and this, that, and the other. So I was looking at it from the utilitarian philosophy. Ki mala yachatna kai milel? How will I? And I wouldn't get anything because in the first chapter, there was Arjun who was perplexed. So that was what I was. But I was trying to look for the story of Dhruva. I don't know whether you know the story of Dhruva. Dhruva tells his father or somebody that give me a place where nobody will shake me. The story is that he is taken down from his mother's lap because the other wife says that he should not sit on the lap. So Dhruva says, ki, give me a place where nobody will disturb me. So therefore he undergoes a penance. That is the Dhruvachi Goshta. And then I realized that I was in practice. I was married. I had children. I had some other things to do. So therefore a guru was not possible. So I was both Arjun, Dhruva and Ekalavya. Ekalavya is the person who was refused. I was not refused. Nobody had stopped me from taking a guru. So therefore I continued to read. So the first chapter was Arjun, and the second chapter was Atma, this, that, and the other, till I came to the 13th chapter, where I found what was, I think, and still think is the scientific basis of Indian philosophy. And that scientific basis tells you that there is such a thing as an organ called mind, which receives perceptions from outside. Then these perceptions are analyzed in the mind. Then action takes place. That is called karma, of course. And the action can have three results. And it's strange, really, because no other than these three results are possible. If you want what you get, it is good. If you don't get what you want, there is sorrow. So therefore, there is pleasure or there is pain. And if somebody else gets what you want, then there is dvesh, krodh, anger, jealousy, etc. When I read that, त्यावेळेला मी जे पुस्तक लिहिलं त्याच्यामध्ये मी मराठीत एक वाक्य लिहिलं होतं की माझ्या कपाटामध्ये द कबर्ड ऑफ माय माइंड where all kinds of things were jumbled up suddenly reset themselves. Because now I knew that I'm capable of these three emotions, and therefore then the next step was that I should be able to be a witness to these three emotions. Like Dr. Verma said afterwards, Patanjali Sutra. What does Patanjali Sutra say? Patanjali Sutra in a way says that mind is an organ. Like your limbs, like your brain, like your eyes, like your ears, the mind also requires rest. And that rest must not be involuntary. I mean, you can't say that I had a very good sleep and therefore my mind is rested. No, that is not. That also is required. But it requires an active emptying of the mind. Once I had these four principles, then it became very easy for me to understand what karma is. For example, the other day, excuse me, in a podcast, I said, everybody knows that the apple fell to the ground. Newton saw it, no? The questions that you require to ask is, why did it not float? Or why did it not fly away from the ground? The ability to ask questions is very important, and that is how you do scientific discoveries. It fell to the ground. But the next question is, why did it detach itself from the stalk? That question falls in the field of biology. And therefore, as I read, I realized that the basic fundamental thing about life is, assuming that at one point in time life came to be, what did the life think? The stone cannot think, nor can the water. Or if they think, we don't know. But life thinks. So the first thing that the life tells itself is that I am. The next thing it says to itself is, I must survive. The third thing it says to itself is, I must procreate. All karma is devolved in these three actions. So therefore, you have a situation where you can only have three emotions and you can have only three goals in life. या दोन गोष्टी तुम्ही जर एकत्र केल्यात, if you unite, then the screen, like I have on my computer, opens fully, and then you can start analyzing yourself, and then karma becomes easy. For example, in the third chapter, Jnaneshwar says, if it succeeds, well and good. If it does not, well and good. If it does not, also good. The fact that you tried is what is important. That is something that, because karma is ubiquitous. For example, when the apple falls to the earth, you don't think of what earth does to the apple. Of course, most of you have come into graduation by what is known as modern schools. So you know that the apple also attracts the earth. And such billions of actions are taking place. And what we do is we make a little chaukat of our life. Ki shalet zain, maybe college mein zain, then I'll get admission, then I will graduate, then I'll do post-graduation, I'll get married, I'll get children, then they will go abroad, then I'll go old. Ashi chaukat or such a space doesn't exist. Because karma's gati is gahan, mysterious are the ways of karma, because there are billions of things happening all around you which determine you. And what does determine you? So that karma is also divided into three parts, like three emotions: pain, sorrow, and happiness, and dvesh. There are three things which determine your life. One is sanchit, that means what you inherited from your forefathers. After all, you cannot escape that. So therefore, you come with certain qualities. Then you are born with a combination of qualities of all kinds of ancestors. And then you are confronted with your circumstances. So therefore, you might be born in a village or a city, rich man, poor man, this, that, and the other. And such hundreds of attributes surround you. And then you think that I will always be successful, that my life will be programmed. I think that is what is wrong. As long as you understand that karmana gahano gatihi, and unless you understand that, after all, what is karma? Ultimately, how did human being come about? Because the production of a jeev or an object is also a karma. So therefore, nobody can leave karma. There is a verse that, you might say that you might not do anything, but you can't stop breathing. Your circulation will not stop. You cannot stop thinking. And Dhaneshwar says, forget about that. When you sleep, dreams will creep. So that also is karma. Because that is karma during the day reflected in your mind at night. What I'm trying to tell you is that once you understand this scenario, as you might say, then you can analyze yourself every day, every minute, and become happier. Because the idea of Indian philosophy is that these three emotions, pleasure, pain, and dvesh, krodh, have to be observed as a witness. And when you observe it as a witness, it is like going to a play and watching people cry and laugh and still enjoy it. So therefore, you have to be a witness. And I don't have to tell this to Dr. Verma or Dr. Iyer, because they have gone through hell. And I'm sure they said to themselves, "Arey, this has happened to me, but I am outside me and I'm looking at myself, and therefore I must do what is expected of me."
Absolutely,
So
sir.
that is
Absolutely.
how
So what you are saying right now, sir, is I think many of us can relate to us. And for that, we don't, those who have really gone through the life shaking experiences of their life, they are definitely can, they are actually can echo with you. But those who have not gone, but there is always a fear. Nothing like this should happen in my life. But you have made it so beautifully, make us understand that this is all karma. We want to live the life eka chaukatit, and this is not exactly the life is. The moment we will try to break that borders, everything is going to fall in the space. And as you also created that, we are going to be the observer there. I can observe every emotion and just be there with that emotion. That will give me the power of happiness, or that will give me the power to live the life the way I want.
So so
Yes,
I will
Geeta.
add to the same context that Dr. Thate. Okay, I can't pronounce his name correctly. Sorry.
That's all right.
Even if I try, I can't.
That's all right.
So, the context in psychology, it's called paradox of control. So it's like this. If I tell you ki don't think of a chocolate brownie, something which is hot chocolate brownie with white vanilla cold ice cream on top of it. Just don't think of it for next 10 seconds, okay? And you're not supposed to think of it. It's not good for your health. It's not something you're supposed to absolutely think of for next 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm thinking only about that.
And
in fact, I started imagining
and you
everything.
probably even imagining the last time you had, and how, was it good?
Yeah.
How tasty was it? Right? So this is exactly the paradox of control. When especially negative experiences, right? We are trying to control our negative experiences. And like you said, there would be a lot of people in the audience who would be like, they would be thinking how not to have those negative experiences, and what can they do so that life falls within the parameters of what is probably socially acceptable, or whatever goals we have set for ourselves in life, and how will they achieve it. And all the time we are trying to control things in our life and not have these unpleasant experiences. But the problem of our brain is, the moment you tell it don't think of this, it will keep on thinking of it, and it will keep on getting engrossed more and more into it. So control works very well in the external world, and that is why we learn to kind of plan and control things, and want to have, like Dr. Thatte said, that we have, पहले स्कूल कॉलेज में अच्छे मार्क्स लाना है, फिर मेडिकल कॉलेज जाना है, फिर पीजी करना है, फिर पीजी के बाद कुछ और करना है, फिर प्रैक्टिस में सेटल होना है, फिर बच्चे पैदा करना है,
और बड़ा प्रैक्टिस करना है,
फिर बच्चों को बड़ा करना है, और बच्चों को फिर डॉक्टर बनाना है.
करेक्ट.
तो ये जो जितना हम इसको कंट्रोल करना चाहते हैं, और अगर कोई भी चीज इस कंट्रोल से बाहर हो जाती है, तो आवर माइंड कीप्स ऑन थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट, एंड इट कीप्स ऑन गेटिंग helplessly engrossed more and more into that. And I think like for him also, and for me also, understanding from again, for me it was from Yoga Sutras, for him it was from Jnaneshwari. So when you understand the Indian knowledge systems, you realize that when you actually surrender to something which is higher, when you give up this control, you actually start enjoying life more. You start, so
I agree entirely. Life is very complex, Swati. I always give two examples from the Gita. If you look at the Gita carefully, one of the first things that you notice or don't notice is, in this war, Sri Krishna has given his army to the opposite party. If he thinks that Arjun's side is correct, why would he do that? And then his counsel is available to Arjun. So the world is very complex. And to imagine that the world is fair all the time is the biggest mistake that you can do. Because it cannot be fair. There is competition. You know, when the three things that the Jeev thinks I am, pahla problem. I want to survive, dusra problem. I want to procreate, tisra problem. Because all three are studied with controversial decisions. For example, why did life migrate from water to the land? Because the substrate food was not enough and because the Jeev was curious. So these two things are bound to happen. And in the process, there is bound to be conflict and complexities. To be able to handle, you know, for example, all adversities, according to Ramdas, are divided into three parts. External. जसं अय्यरला झालं त्याला ऍक्सिडेंटच झाला, दॅट्स अन एक्सटर्नल ऍडव्हर्सिटी. वर्माला काय झालं, शी हॅड अन इंटरनल ऍडव्हर्सिटी. Then there is such a thing as a spiritual adversity, where things are happening around you and you are suffering on account of it. Why are you suffering? Because you have thought that this world is fair, which it is not. And then there is such a thing as a compromise, there is such a thing as a fighting, there is such a thing as judgment. And some of the judgments are wrong, some judgments are correct. But the idea is, because the body is a product of karma, you cannot stop doing the karma. So therefore, like I said, if it succeeds, well and good. If it doesn't, also good. Of course, the Gita and the Dhaneshwari said that the fact that I did and offered it to the Paramatma, it is best. That is another problem which now I am will deal with. You know, this business of God is not defined. But when Dr. Verma said that there is such a thing to which if you get into touch, and the word used in Dhaneshwari is Swasamvedya, because the Indian philosophy postulates that the entity from which this world came about did not have a mind, did not have a hetu, did not have a purpose, nothing, but it was conscious. And that consciousness has come to us, Swasamvedya. That means we are conscious of ourselves. Unfortunately, that consciousness is surrounded by what is known as upadhis. Mind, chitta, buddhi, karma, this, that, and the other. And you always have to, like probably Dr. Verma did, or Dr. Iyer did, okay, what is my essence? And if you can, for a short period of time, get rid of mind, body, complex, as you might say. For example, I am not a great yogi or anything, but on occasions when 2 or 3 minutes when I close the eyes and I really do drop into what is known as that state, I am shocked at the end of 2.5 minutes when I open my eyes. I cannot imagine that I was in this room. The room had completely evaporated. All my, 8:30 वाजताची केस आहे ती संपली. अनेस्थेटिस्ट कोड मिळणार ते संपलं. गाडीला पार्किंगला काय होईल ते संपलं. Will it bleed? That also over. After all, during the day, what does the surgeon suffer from? Or an intensivist, or for that matter, any kind of specialist. So if you can analyze at the end of the day what happened today, of how the graph went up and down, up and down, up and down, then over a period of time, you start neglecting the graph and say to yourself, and it, Dhaneshwar in a very extraordinary verse says about life. Life is like a single flutter of the fluttering wings of a fly, which flutter 1,000 times a minute as compared to eons of time gone by. अशी ज्ञानेश्वरांची मराठीतली ओवी आहे, which I have translated into English. So the idea is not to take a chip on the shoulder, not to be self-centric. Hundreds of thousands of things are going on. So let go. You work, yet you let go. असं जर combination तुम्हाला करता आलं, then it becomes easier for you. It is as simple as that. I don't know. For example, when I wrote last my book, The Gita Revisited, I said to myself and wrote down, if when I ask somebody to define God, they look at me with pity. But because I'm a scientific man, I said to myself, what is the God? Does he control you? What does he do? He is pure consciousness. That is all that is. And it is like a bird in a cage. The cage is built around our Jeev. And we think that this cage is all that we have. That is not what it is. Nest. I'm not talking about cage. I'm talking about a nest. So self-analysis at every point in time. Ki Mala, today I got angry. Today I felt happy. Why did I feel happy? Why did I get angry? Just analyze it at the end of the day. And this habit will help you to start a new day in a much better fashion. You know, because I'm older now, I'm 85 years old, and I've gone through the gamut of life, sorrows and pleasures and ambitions and achievements and so on and so forth. I'm also beset with all kinds of old age maladies. But
So
because
you are,
I did
so you are
philosophy
85,
and
but the way you are talking, it is so energetic. We are not able to relate with your age. In fact, if the people we all here, there are a lot of friends here of mine, of my age, we all find ourselves so tired. Not at the end of the day, but right from the beginning of the day. The day starts only with that boring part ki yaar, aaj kitna lamba din hai. Or you will start, sir, aaj kuch bhi nahi hai re. आज कुछ काम ही नहीं है. That everything is just unorganized and everything is
I will have
not
to butt in.
accepted.
I have to butt in. The other analysis that you require to do is what qualities do you have? Are you indolent, lazy, and disinterested? Quality number one. This quality supervenes on you when you are asleep.
Yeah.
Does this quality supervene on you when you are during the waking hours? That is one. Number two, are you a high energy individual, always after something and trying to get something? That is Rajo Guna.
Very true.
First is Tama, second is Raja, third is Sattva. Are you contemplative? Do you think of long distance things? Do you think of others? That is Sattva. All of us are made of these qualities. The idea is that you have to have an element of Tama also. You should be able to take relax and sleep. You also, Sansar Kasa Honar. If you are not Rajoguni, how will you look after your people? How will you do your profession? But at the same time, you should be Sattva Guni. So therefore, early in my life, after I read Jnaneshwari, I realized that I'm a high energy individual. I'm Rajoguni. I like to fight. I try to make a park. I try to describe operations. I try to clean up Sion Hospital. I like to go to a rural center and do plastic surgery, this, that, and the other. I'm always fighting for the good. Then I realized that, this will have to be tinged with looking after others as well. Just going there and doing 25 cases is not good enough. Do you feel for them? What is the birth of virtue? The birth of virtue is that you should be able to understand that the same energy that you have is shared by that other person. Why is Ravin Tatte being very impressive just now? Because he's analyzed this situation. And we require to analyze our situation to go forth in life, for which the basic tenets of philosophy are required. That is the message that I would like to give you, that self-analysis, and me it's a leela, so therefore, 1 second, you can take professional help, you can take emotional succor from others, you can take societal help, but you must also help yourself.
Amazing.
In order to become selfish, you have to give up anger. The Gita says that when you think that you are doing something, somebody else is doing something for you. And when you think that you are not doing anything, something else is doing something so that you go on. So that other person is a witness and you have to also become a witness. For example, I had in the evening today a very bad argument about our cooperative society. But I was telling myself that this is what is known as righteous indignation, because I want to convey a point. And immediately after that, I relaxed and I told my wife, let us go to the terrace and do chit-chat. So here I was again back. But I had analyzed those 15 minutes where I was righteously indignant at the unfairness of this world. And then I told myself that you have always said that the world is not fair. So fair enough. But then I have to put my point of view. And now I must go to sleep peacefully.
Thank you so much.
That is the thrust of my argument.
You have covered so much part of the for you it may be a very small part of Jnaneshwari, but it has really covered a lot of areas in our life. What I had started with the question that how to cope up with successes as well as the losses from your life. So you have really covered in the vast way and given us an insight where all we need to work upon. So really, thank you so much. We are at 9:56, and let us have a last, question to all three of you. So Meghna, I would just like to know that how your family has really contributed into your this journey. Meghna?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You've gone on a mute again. Vishu, you can also share by the time I unmute her.
Yeah, I think my family never, even despite one accident which was very big and one, relatively smaller accident where I again had injuries, they never really stopped me from cycling. And I feel as a surgeon, you do have complications. If it doesn't mean if you don't have complications, you don't stop the surgery. You just try to learn what's the problem and you go back to doing it better the next time. So any complication doesn't stop doing it. And life is not only about safety and security every time. I mean, every decision you take, my father wanted me to do pediatrics because it is very safe and you just start one clinic and you're okay. But I wanted to be a neurosurgeon and I did it. And I'm very happy about it. So there's no, in love and career and professional or whatever, you cannot have regrets and you cannot think twice every time about safety and security. So I think I never ever thought about not cycling because of my major accident. I think you just do what you have to do. Ultimately, you must be happy doing what you want to do. And as long as it doesn't harm others, it's good. And now with my newfound social initiative, I'm really happy. In fact, right now I'm in a meeting for Geocyclathon, which we are planning on December 17 for sustainability. And that is why I'm not in Wi-Fi range and some difficulties were there.
Got you. So thank you so much, Vishu, for sharing that with us. Yes, Meghna.
Yeah. So for me, I have my family, in spite of and especially currently, my vision is very low. I mean, I'm independently also, I'm not mobile. Like I need help to move around or I need to carry my cane along with me.
Okay.
And in spite of this, I think my husband never told me that you can't do this. We were talking about the long tail of degrees in front of me, right? And in spite of my failing vision, and it progressed over a period of last 10-15 years. But in spite of that, he never told me ki nahi ye mat karo. Matlab, this is not possible, or this is something that I would rather keep you safe and secure. Like I can provide for you. Why do you want to do this? And so I think giving that freedom to explore, like Sir was saying, self-analysis, get into that journey of who am I really, like he was talking about. So I also feel I have a lot of Rajogun. So, and allowing that Rajogun to happen, right? In spite of having a deep limitation, I think I'm very, grateful to my husband for that.
Yes.
I have a 9-year-old.
We have given you the best one from our batch.
Yeah. And
Very
I have a 9-year-old son, and we have a 2.5-year-old, just a very young daughter, Asmi. Sir was again talking about I am, the very first expression of life itself, right? So Asmi means I am. And I think, I mean, she is somebody who really keeps the family together. She is somebody who is just expression of joy itself for all of us, all three of us. And I think having her so late in our lives also is, I think it's again Shyam trusting me that we can have a baby even with my limitation, and like he's always there for me. I think that itself is a huge blessing, and that ability to surrender to my illness also probably comes because of my family's support.
super. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, Rupa, you want to add? Shyam is there with you? Meghna, is he there?
Shyam?
So, Rupa, you want to add something? Rupa, here. Rupa is
Vishy must have already said that if you give a chance to me to talk, then I'll be talking a lot.
yeah. So we are giving you 1 minute to talk.
Yeah, so 2.5 accidents actually, to be
Very good.
precise. And so it all. So how do I explain how it is? So here I am waiting for him to come back from work, and he comes home, and the first thing that he does is that he is checking all the cycles, whether they have enough air in their tires for his, and making things ready for the next day's ride, much to complete ignoring my romantic overtures. So that's how he manages. Then every other day I have some kind of a delivery or courier delivery happening. And initially, though, I used to feel I was under the wrong impression that it is something to do with some gifts for me, but ultimately it used to be turning out to be some of the gadgets, for the cycling. And there is not a single socket which is available in my house to charge my mobile, whereas the sockets are all full with charging of all his gadgets. So this is and
so
I
really,
think
you know what, Rupa, we really want to ask you, how do you cope up with this?
so listen to this. The fifth cycle, you can imagine how many cycles are there. So the fifth cycle, I don't have space. Even the car is bought with the intention of space for the cycle and not for us humans. So that's how the car is also bought. So when the cycle comes, the fifth cycle comes, and the driver comes to keep all his belongings. And I ask the driver, "Sahib kuthe?" And he says, "Te त्यांच्या पाचव्या बायको बरोबर आहे." And I realized that I am not even in contention. Okay, so you can imagine, this is junoon. This is his junoon. Okay, and that junoon is something which is driving him and keeping him going, right? So I have nothing to say for that, and I need to appreciate that, and I really admire that. And the second thought is very simple. If you love somebody deeply, let him be. Let him do what and you just have to be the wing beneath his wings and let him fly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rupa. Thank you so much.
That was the icing on the cake.
Yes.
I would like to meet this lady.
Yes, definitely, sir. Sir, I'll meet you. I'll meet you. Let you meet another person here who has started this motive. Okay, UMANG. Gauri, can you just wave your hand and just unmute yourself? Gauri Saroj is the one who has started this. And there is, again, it has started from a tragedy with a brain tumor surgery. And this lady comes back from the hospital with, I don't know what has happened in her brain, but whatever she wanted to really contribute in the society, she has come with that all energy, and she just started executing it one after the other. And UMANG is one of the motive, whatever she is doing in her life, in socially contributing and really doing a great work. She's an intensivist at Jupiter. And Gauri, you can say something about UMANG, and really acknowledge that we all, sir, we all we go through some places in our life, as Meghna said, some emotional loss, some relationship loss, some the family member loss, or some big financial losses, health loss, some or the other tragedies in our life. And we all are fighters, coping up the things. So Gauri really wants to acknowledge all the people around us and the universe, how they have coped up with us. Yes, Gauri.
Yeah, so I take an opportunity today. Thank you so much for that. To acknowledge everyone around here, who has supported me in each and every step of my life. My spouse, Dr. Kamal Saroj, my kids, my parents, my friends, colleagues, whenever I was not well, they did not meet me physically, but I know their prayers were there with me, to have a faster recovery and smooth recovery. And that was a very overwhelming situation, where you all have gone through it. So really, I want to acknowledge on behalf of all of us, who have suffered a setback in whichever way it is, acknowledge the whole world, rather, I would say, that whenever I would say whenever God gives us breakdown or a setback, the supreme power always creates a support somewhere, which we have to just see and hold it, grab the opportunity and just move ahead. Like Vishwanathan has a support in the form of cycle, so many cycles are there. Meghna has written a book and she has a strong support from the family. So and Sir has explored Naneshwari. So we just have to think of that support, which is just waiting for us to hold it. And I would say we do not wait for a setback to happen. Why wait a setback to happen? We went through it and it was just probably an alarm for us. Le lo abhi bhai support, that kind of thing. But I personally feel nobody should wait for a major setback to happen in life. We can just explore the purpose of our life by taking the support. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, the UMANG team, which is supporting me throughout this. This is our 30th session on Zoom. And we started just after the COVID. COVID was just on the peak when we started this. And I have a strong support to carry this forward. Even if I'm not there, the show goes on, I would say. So I would request all of you to come on camera and just acknowledge each and every member from our family and the whole world, for it. Thank you. Thank you, Swati. Thank you, Swati. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
you
so much.
So
I would like to really acknowledge the wonderful audience. They all are here. We have actually overboarded the time. We are at 10:08 and everybody is keenly listening and they are contributing, they are writing. And thank you, really, thank you so much. I really thank all our speakers here, Meghna, Thatte sir, and Vishu, to be here and contributing their bigger insights and bigger learnings of the life. And I can see a lot of my teachers here. Thank you, Indrani ma'am, and lot of my colleagues here. Thank you so much to see all of you. This is the earning what I have in my life. This is what I say. It has never gone. It has gone beyond that bank balance, and this is what we all have collected for ourselves.
Khari kamai.
Khari kamai. Identify that and acknowledge them fully from our heart. So this is thank you to the universe who has given us all support and the listening that we can cope up with the bigger breakdowns, smaller breakdowns, and carry on the purposes of our life. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. And please subscribe UMANG. All these sessions are available on the YouTube. It's UMANG Empowering the Medicos. You can go through the lot of sessions are there. We have spoken about multiple topics. Subscribe them and share with your friends. Whichever topic you like, share with your friend. वो एक share करो अपने friend को याद करो. That is what I say. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so Swati, I had introduced UMANG as a forum of doctors for doctors, but after this session, I would also say beyond doctors. So it is something which is much bigger than just being doctors. So thank you so much for this opportunity and for this initiative of UMANG. Thank you, Gauri. I mean, it's very heartwarming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the audience wants to share anything? Please do share.
Hi, this is Nirav here, Nirav Cheda.
Yes, Nirav.
Thank you, Swati, and great session. And thank you all the speakers and everybody there. I mean, I've just mentioned the chat. I think we can start having this offline as well. Wonderful network and wonderful place. So, and if you want anything, I'm there to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nirav. We really got that. Thank you, Priya. We are reading the chats also. Thank you so much. Any questions or anything anybody want to ask? Yeah.
Swati, this was such a wonderful session. And I really enjoyed, the whatever was being said. And, we had such eminent people talking about, and the coping mechanisms, basically. And, from my own experience, what I would say is what I think for each, the coping mechanism may be different. It may not be the same. I mean, what coping mechanism can help me may not help another person. So what I would also say is, I would also ask the panelists, what about music? Because music is one thing which has calmed me, which really gives me that calmness, whenever, when I'm emotionally under a turmoil. So I don't know whether you can say something about it.
Swati, can I answer?
Yes,
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 sir.
please,
Yes, sir.
please, sir.
There are two things in nature which we have discovered. One is mathematics and the other is music. It was hidden in universe. Mathematics was discovered. Have you ever looked at a leaf, how geometrically symmetrical it is? Or a fruit for that matter? Or even a butterfly? They are mathematically accurate. That is one. And people or like us, we have inherited music from the lower animals. It was the birds that ultimately told us about swar. And therefore, if you look at the articulation of Omkar, there is a mistake in saying that there is articulation of Omkar, because Omkar doesn't require any articulation. Omkar is the sound of the universe. Sound of the universe. And that Omkar then ultimately develops into music. And so therefore, if you approach music or mathematics, then you are actually delving into the secrets of nature, and then you submerge yourself in nature. And that is how, like the lady said, music is a very, very important component of our peace. I don't know about some of the loud music that is played nowadays, but certainly the Indian classical music or the classical music of the West, which is formatted. Indian classical music is not formatted. But the swara part of it is a pleasure to listen to the bird sound in the morning. Why is it a pleasure? Why is it a pleasure to listen to the small rumble of the sea if you live near the sea? Because you are merging with nature, and that is what music does to us. So therefore, I think that point is very well taken. And the point that, the technique of coping is secular. It is not necessary that you have to go a certain path. Oh, no, not at all. Everybody finds his own goal and his own method and his own technique, if you can call it a technique.
Also, sir, if I can add to that, what I feel is in Indian classical music, it can probably play out every emotion. Yes. Happiness, melancholy, sadness, or whatever you want to say, whether you want to, the emotional balance, if you want to get, or anger. I mean, every emotion can be produced through music, through the various ragas. So I feel, especially those ragas which can balance our emotion, I think those will really help in coping, whenever you're in a turmoil. I mean, especially when you're having a turmoil, you should not listen to sad ragas. That is also very important, I think.
Actually, there is such a thing as music therapy, I'm told.
Yes, music therapy. So I was going to say that you must explore music therapy. A lot of it is based on ragas, and based on coping. I would say, again, coming back to the Indian knowledge systems, I think there are four parts: that Gyan, Dhyan, Bhakti, and Karma, right? So any one of these parts basically help you to transcend your suffering. I would call it transcending. And depending upon your composition, your own nature, to some people Gyan might appeal, to some people Dhyan, some people Bhakti. And I think music is a very, very integral part of Bhakti. I feel there cannot be love or emotion without music. Or so I think it is a very, very integral part. And yes, different coping mechanisms appeal to different people.
There is a very beautiful commercial going on nowadays of a man who is in the waiting room, and she is offered a cup of tea by a lady sitting next to him, and she asks, who is ill? So he says, my father is ill. So he takes tea, And then he asked her, "Ki tuzo kon azari hai? Who is ill?" There was nobody. I just come here and give a cup of tea to those who have come to look after their patients. I think what a beautiful commercial. What a beautiful commercial. So therefore, the touching and feeling and to feel, how passion should be converted into compassion and how vengeance should be converted into mercy. Not always possible. Like I said, it is not a fair world. For example, the Lord, when he talks to Arjun, if you really carefully read the Gita, he never tells him that you are fighting because you are on the right side. He is telling him that this is a fait accompli. And therefore, the only way to do it is to fight. And if you want to fight well, your mind has to be at peace. A samsar is not a peaceful existence. There are problems. Husband, wife, children, relatives, in-laws, this, that, and the other, careers. It is not a fair expression of life. But if you want to be successful, your mind must be calm. And everything that does or leads to calmness of mind is very important. Like I said, it is like the single flutter of the fluttering wings of a fly. And that little flutter must be not be fluttering, but must be peaceful.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So anybody else wants to ask anything, want to contribute anything? Okay. So should we declare this session as complete?
Yeah, you can. And I want to tell you that I've been on hundreds of Zoom sessions, including here and abroad, for Swati and the others who spoke. And I think Gauri Saroj
yes.
and others. I've not had the privilege and the pleasure of participating in such a wonderful Zoom meeting. And I was extremely skeptical about how this will turn out to be, but this turned out to be brilliant. And thank you very much. There is still hope in this world.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Kanchan. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you. Bye.
Swati. Thank you, Swati.
Thank you,
for
sir. Thank you,
leading us so well.
Thanks.
Vivek got dropped, I think, and still you
Hi.
managed.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sunil. Yes, Dr.
Yeah,
Sunil, you
yeah,
want to say
yes,
something?
yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Attending many more such sessions. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Priya. Thank you so much.